So here we are, back again. I'm going to do another little bit of the demonstration that I started earlier.
Too, I've had to look out for that. Both horizontal and vertical.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
There wasn't a very big warning there, but I thought I'd go back and do a little bit more to this. You know, just as I come upon the picture and looking at Komachi and the painting together, it seems to me like there are some adjustments I need to make. Maybe lifting and dropping. I don't know. I feel like there needs to be a bit more length here. So it's maybe not a bad thing that it's gone so dramatically wrong. But I can easily show you then how to lift off maybe and sculpt out. So yeah, so that was the plan behind. Yeah, yours is gorgeous. There's no need to lift off. Is it? Could I bring it round to? I think that's gorgeous. Anyway, okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so the lifting off, I find that these brushes are quite good for lifting off, the firmer ones. But when you come back after your lunch now, you might want to kind of take ownership over the work again. You know, there's some sort of thing about coming in with a bit of gusto. And so after you've had a break, you'll see something that needs to be adjusted. As soon as you get back in position, you might see, like for me at the moment, I'm looking at the dark of the hair to the left, and straight away I thought, actually, I could deepen the tone of that, and it would maybe, could deepen the tone there, and it would shift things on a wee bit for me. So I'm going to start by, and actually, Ronan, can you please do time keep, and if 20 minutes is all right with everybody, we'll work with that. Thanks very much. Okay. Okay, and maybe even bringing the hair back a little bit more, to create a little bit more volume there. And pull up and lift, you can do all of that stuff. Just a bit more. So I wanted to deepen the tone in the back of the head. And often you'll find that's helpful to kind of anchor down the back of the head by deepening the tone there. And then there's something about the front somehow being able to more easily launch forward from the dark background, I think. Something like that. Let me see now.
So what colour did you put? Ultra?
Oh, good question. So that was ultramarine blue and Van Dyke brown.
Oh, Van Dyke brown. Right.
So the Van Dyke brown looks like that. It's a nice rich dark brown. I don't know, am I doing the right thing there? So when I came back, what I thought was that the length here isn't enough, and I'm going to need to adjust that. But the first thing I do when I come back isn't to go to the part that I want to change significantly, actually. The first thing I wanted to do when I came back was to suss out the whole shape of what I'm looking at here, beautiful image here, and then to consider what's the first impulse I have, and it was to deepen the back of the hair there for me. You'll find out what it is for you. But doing something a little bit bold is no harm. And I can bring down, okay. Yeah, you see, I think that the nose, that's probably not a good idea, just doing it with the glue. I had a feeling that the nose could have been a little bit lower down. But I don't want to do it with the same colour as I'm painting the hair. I think that would be the flat white talking, maybe. Just kind of too vigorous altogether coming in. But the sharp straight line here is a helpful dark to find. Know that this side is darker, it gives me a license to bring some dark over to the other side. And I'll also use the same colour to lift the eyebrow a touch here. I want to lift the eyebrow a little bit there. So just the same as what you needed to do, Ronan. Lifting the eyebrow a little bit, because I think I wanted to reduce the height of the forehead, and just to kind of get a little bit more of the feel of the kind of elegance of the pose. Okay. Alright. And now I'm using some of the cadmium orange. Actually just on its own really. little bit more there. Maybe actually, you know what would be a good thing for me to do here? Would be to pull down the nose a touch, but maybe then to bring in the shadow in the upper lip, the dark of the upper lip. I think would be helpful to place. So this is sap green and cadmium red that I'm using just to kind of pull the nose down a little bit before deciding completely where it is. I'm just wanting to bring it down because it was distracting me a touch there. That's alright. And I could maybe bring in some tone here as well. And I know there isn't a direct source of light here today now really, but we've got enough going on that I think we can manage without that. I mean, with the flowers and the kimono and everything, there's enough on each side of the face to let it read as the form that to let it read as three-dimensional, I suppose. Okay. All right. I'm half closing my eyes. I'm just going to continue finding things that show themselves to me almost, you know. Oh, I said I would do an eye. Would it be helpful if I only did an eye? What about some? Do you feel like that would be quite good? Just to bring an eye up into detail.
Please.
Did you want me to do something else?
No,
Lifting
I'm
off.
quite happy. Just
Okay. And I think I'll also lift off. Remember I was going to lift off.
lift off a little bit of lift off.
Yeah. So this eyebrow is located too low down. I want to lift off that shadow. So I'm using a damp brush. It's not dripping wet. And I'm going to agitate the paint at the edge of the shape I want to lift. You might sometimes even turn the board upside down so that the paint is running away from the clean skin. But failing that, if you just lift off what's there.
But is that a slightly stiffer brush, did you say?
Yeah, you can, maybe I can give one of those to John if you don't have one, because it's good to try. These are slightly stiffer, yeah. There's a link in the thing. They're a cheap set of craft brushes.
I have used one of yours before, but I kind of forgotten about that.
But the ones you use for the acrylic would be just the same.
Would they?
If you have those, the burgundy ones.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I forgot about that. They'll work.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to lift off by every third move you wash your brush, so you're not simply pushing the pigment back in. So I'm wanting to lift off, and as I'm lifting off, I'm actually looking at the shape that I'm creating by excavating out underneath the eyebrow. You see, I want to kind of create a feeling of the shadow coming around here a little bit, so I'm not lifting everything back to the white. I'm using what I can that's already still there. You know, make use of what's there already. And I want to come down to the shadow in the upper lip, so that I can more fully and clearly decide where the jaw is going to be. The mouth might come across a little bit more there. Okay. And then I'll focus on that eye. So I'm going to mix the cadmium red for the upper lip there. I'm going to mix the cadmium red and the viridian green. And so from my angle, this eyebrow is higher than that one, this nostril is higher than that one, and the corner of the mouth here is higher than the one on the other side. And this is the colour I've got. And the corner of the mouth, if I was to draw a straight line up from the corner of the mouth, it would run through the iris, and it would be slightly to the right of the bend in the eyebrow. So maybe about here. And on a diagonal from the nose to the edge of the face, the corner of the mouth is about halfway. So from the nose here down to the edge of the face, the corner of the mouth will be located about halfway along that. And the lowest point seems to me to be this little dip in the chin here. I could hold the brush vertically so that the colour accumulates along that line. Anyway, that was supposed to be lip colour, wasn't it? But sure, we'll keep going. Yeah, so maybe I'll put in alizarin crimson now to make the lip colour different from that colour that I just used at the bottom of the face there. But before I do that, honest to God, I see something else, you see. the corner here. I wanted to establish something more clearly in that corner too there. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Alright, so back to the crimson. Back to the crimson. How am I for time, Ronan?
About 12 minutes left.
12 minutes left, okay. So this is happening now. And the corner of the mouth is to the left of the eyebrow, and it maybe runs through that nostril, or even is a little bit to the, it's directly below that nostril, I would say. And then back to a touch of sap green into that reddish colour will give me skin colour again. And that's what I'm going to use to describe the shadow that's here, underneath the lower lip. And when I place that shadow in, I can kind of extend it out here so that it bleeds over here and becomes part of the face. Oh, didn't expect that to happen. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, so that's even almost enough there for now, so that I can just go up and do that eye. So the last thing here would be the peak of the lip there on either side of the philtrum. There's the high point of the lips. And just to recognize that the lip to the right will be steeper and shorter than the section of lip to the left when she's turned in the way that she is. Okay. And I just want to inject a little bit of skin there. There. There's a lump of cadmium orange now in the middle of the brush. That wasn't very helpful, was it? And if you don't have cadmium orange, you can mix your lemon yellow and cadmium red together to make it. Okay. Sometimes it's helpful to turn the thing on its side and just let the painting paint itself in a different direction. Or you could blow it if you didn't have a mask on. Okay, so the eye. Now, to explain the eye, the first thing I would do, and we've already done it really, the first thing to do in explaining that eye, I think that's okay. There. Is it? That's a bit strange. Okay, the first thing I would do to explain the eye is to stop working on other parts. It's such a difficult thing, isn't it? Okay, right, so the first thing we do to explain the eye is to go to the eyebrow above it and see the two directions of the eyebrow. Yeah. So just looking at the Van Dyke brown and ultramarine blue. And this is a helpful thing, alright? So I'm not doing this copying out now. I need to place something to decide where the nose is now. I needed to find the nostril position. So I wanted to just do that there. Look a little bit sweeter. Don't need to make it that dark. Okay, so the eye. Right, so I'm going to work on this eye here. So the two directions of the eyebrow explain the side of the face, side plane of the face, where there's actually kind of a little bit of shadow, I reckon, coming in there to meet the eye. So it seems to me like it's just a little bit darker here than it is on the front of the forehead. And then, yeah, there is actually a valid reason to keep everything moving along as well. It keeps the energy alive everywhere, and you're kind of tipping away at stuff. I'm just trying to give myself a bit of a reason to keep going elsewhere. Okay, so once you've got the two directions of the eyebrow clearly established, you want to create the landscape within which the eye is going to sit, and it emerges from. So there's some yellow ochre there now because I think the skin between the eyebrow and the eye has a touch of yellow ochre about it. And there's this shadow that's barely visible, but there is a shadow here between the eyebrow and the extension out of the nose. So there's the light hitting the eyelid, the light hitting the nose, and in between those you might find a subtle shadow that's worth finding. And the same thing is over here. I located it in a different place earlier, but it's okay to just relocate it without moving it, I think, for now. And yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the upper lid, the upper the upper eyelash line. That's chronic.
I mean eyelash.
Say that again?
Neck, I mean eyelash.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm just going to continue with the ultramarine blue and the Van Dyke brown mix to continue with the. So I want to make the colour inky, dark enough that it'll really make a statement here. And that's the colour I'm going to use to describe the line of the upper eyelash. And when I draw a straight line through the nose to the other one, it seems like it's almost, there. I think it's about there. So there's two directions, in the same way as there's two directions to the eyebrow, you could say there's two directions too to the upper eyelash line. And the second direction would cut a little bit off the end of the eyebrow. And the inner corner of the eye is lower than the outer corner here. And it's really worthwhile stepping back often in order to see if things are way off. And I think it's safe to say things are way off. I need to push that up a little bit. And I think this needs to come down a little bit more. Something like that. So I'm finding the upper eyelash line there. And I think this needs to be steeper as well. Okay. Right now, you see? So the two directions of, okay. And no, a little bit of colour in here will allow me to judge whether that needs to be moved again or not. So I'm going to put some cadmium red, cadmium orange into that colour, and it'll give me that. Why don't I make it without using my cadmium orange? Because I think not everybody has that. What about the cadmium red and the lemon yellow to give us a kind of an elastoplast style colour when it's mixed with the white paper underneath. And that's the colour I'm going to use just to occupy the space here and let me see it a bit more clearly as skin. And then I think I could use that same colour to describe the bit that comes up to meet the upper surface of the lower lid. There's a bit of a shadow area around there as well. And now maybe to find the iris will help me to create order there as well. And the iris I'm going to find with the Van Dyke brown and the ultramarine blue. And actually I'll just get rid of that there. Van Dyke brown and ultramarine blue, and I'll just use the corner of this brush. Or even better, I'll get a brush that is the size the iris is, and it will let me make it more easily. Okay, so the iris is half covered really by the upper lid, and it sits before the turn in the eyebrow. The iris is maybe kind of about here in relation to the eyebrow. I want to decide where this side of the iris is in relation to the eyebrow, and where the other side of the iris is in relation to the eyebrow. And then I can just find again the dark of the upper eyelash line, which is often a good way of anchoring the eye in space. I'll stand back and see if that's looking okay, kind of position-wise. That's okay. And when you're doing that, you might find that you want to introduce something of the same tone in other parts of the features then. It gives you a license to do stuff elsewhere in the same depth of tone. Okay, but let me finish that eye. A bit more brown into it, I think. Yeah, lovely. And actually the inner corner of that eye has got maybe a touch of alizarin crimson about it, I reckon. And remember I was saying this yesterday to you who were here yesterday, if you want to distinguish parts of the eye from each other, it's helpful to use colour as well as tone and line, and but colour is a good thing to distinguish one part from another. And so some alizarin crimson maybe dropped in there to the inner corner might be quite a helpful thing. And to emphasise the upward lift here, it might be a good thing to put some in there too somehow. And I'll just put some more brown in that iris. And when you push up the colour and lift, it kind of creates a bit of an overhanging shadow on the iris that makes it read as though it's more substantial possibly. And a little bit of skin colour underneath the eye there will let the eyeball undulate around and up like so. There's a shadow here that I'm going to push up and lift to meet the skin of the upper surface of that lower lid. I mean, that's quite a dramatic thing there, but I can always make it softer. Stand back before adjusting something. Sometimes it works. I actually feel quite proud of myself. I think I did do an eye. In that, I did what it was billed to do, like. Thanks very much. Jeekers, I was seriously looking for praise. Thanks, Komachi. And just as a final thing, what you might do is drop in the pupil into the middle of the iris shape. It can be like a pendulum coming down there from the upper eyelash. Oh, Komachi, that's okay. You're fine. Thank you. Just to kind of continue deepening the tone at the top of the iris and let the pupil hang down in the middle of that maybe. But see the shape of the iris and the shape of nostrils, those things are important to capture the turn of the head. And even the position of the corner of the mouth and things, and maybe the final anchoring down at the bottom of at the chin there, So these areas there are certain places that are very helpful to pull out. The eyebrows, the upper eyelash line, the something underneath the nose, the dark of the upper lip there, the shadow beneath the lower lip, and and something to anchor down the face. And then you come back in, you do maybe warmth in the ear. All these different things can come into play. But I would recommend that you bring both of your eyes up at the same time. I just would have taken forever to do that. So as soon as you've done something in one eye, let it dry while working on the other eye. Okay, thanks very much for your attention there. I'm always aware that we could have more time for everything, but thanks, Komachi. You're great. I'd say it's a tough one. It's a tough one sitting like that. So actually, Joan, I don't think you need those because that brush there does exactly the same thing.
I'm going to put my face up.
Because
I was looking down.
I need to see you.
Yes, but you're seeing.
Well, I'm coming around to everybody
Yeah,
here.
Mother too.
Rana, because I was at Rana, I'm going to see Rana and then you.
And then me. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Magic. Oh, thanks for watching. Bye.